Okay, so had a question recently where the gist of the question was, why does my team suck? Somebody in the comments, I went back to look for the comment. I guess I forgot what video it was on because I couldn't figure out where it was. And I can't remember who asked it, sorry. But basically, they'd won the World Series the year before, and the next year their team was 500, and they weren't really sure what the difference was or why the team was doing so much worse than last year. So I thought I'd put together a video on a few things of ways to check maybe why your team's underachieving, overachieving. Is the record a good indicator of how good your team actually is? Because, certainly while we measure a team's success by wins and losses, especially in small sample sizes, wins and losses can be kind of random. You can you can be playing well but lose several games in a row, right? Or you can be playing poorly and win several games in a row. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is go into the standings and then go to expanded standings and check out the Pythagorean record right here. So this is telling you what your record, this PYT is telling you what your record should be based off of your run differential. So I'm the Orioles. They're saying my record should be 89 and 73. My record is actually 90 and 72. So they're saying I'm plus one. I have one more win than I should based off of having a plus 90 run differential. So plus one is no big deal, right? You're hardly ever right on, but it's if you're an extreme outlier from this is when you might want to be aware of it, such as the Yankees here, plus nine. So they're a plus 107 run differential. 91 wins is what they deserved based off of that, but they won 100. So they went 162. How did they do that? Well, they went 10 and 5 in extra inning games, and they were 10 games over 500 in one run games, 27 and 17. This is not generally something that will be sustainable season to season or sometimes even the course of a season. Generally, you want to count on extra inning and one run games, your team going about 500. The Yankees didn't. They were 10 games over 500 and one run games, and hence they were plus nine from their run differential, their expected win loss record. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. Maybe your team isn't as good as the record makes it seem, or maybe they're not as bad. If you go down here, the Tigers -5 differential. They were 74 and 88. This says they should have been 79 and 83. Now, it's the difference between a pretty bad team and a team that might be getting close to being average, right? So not a huge thing, but the A's here, -5, they're 78 and 84, and they should have been 83 and 79. I shouldn't say should have been, but their run differential suggests that they deserved 83 and 79. And why was that? Oh, look, 6 and 7 in extra inning games, but then 21 and 29 in one run games, right? So same thing with the Tigers up here, -5, they're 16 and 30 in one run games. And some people might believe that, clutch teams pull that out and win the one run games and it's a skill. There's really nothing to suggest in all the studies that have been done that winning one run games is a skill. It's a coin flip, and you'll run hot in them sometimes, you run cold in them sometimes. The real good teams win more games by one run, by more than one run than just winning a bunch of nail biters. So that's when start here at the team level with the Pythagorean win, expected wins, and the run differential, and then extra innings and one run record. Those will tell you some things. And then now we will go to the front office, to the info page. Here on the team page, there's not there's some stuff that'll be helpful, but I would, if you want to evaluate your offense from a high level, check the OPS, where do you rank, and maybe then also check where you rank in runs scored. Those are pretty good gauges of how your offense is. And based on balls, home runs, strikeouts can all be helpful in terms of where maybe your weakness is. Maybe you strike out too much, maybe you don't walk enough, etc. Pitching side of things, BABIP can be helpful. I want to be careful with suggesting there's a number here of where this should be, but in general, around 300 for a team is going to be about average for a BABIP. That is batting average in balls in play. So that's the batting average on all balls that are not home runs, are not strikeouts, or not walks, in play, any ball in play. So, my team was 13th in the AL, probably because my defense sucked, 13 in efficiency and 8th in zone rating. So, therefore, my pitchers were a little more unlucky on balls in play than pitchers on other teams. Now, in real life, there are more effective ways these days to measure luck on batted balls with all the StatCast stuff that tells us exit velocity, launch angle, etc. That'd be cool to have in this game, but I'm sure it's nearly impossible to have on a team level like this, etc. Or else I'm sure they would have put it in the game already. I'm going to take a sip of my water here. Hold on. So that's a couple, a couple team level things that you can look at. And then you can also look at some things on the player level too. Pretty good at pitching. Here's how I have my pitching menu laid out. And if you want to see if a pitcher's been unlucky or not, again, without StatCast and batted ball data, one of the best ways you're going to do that in this game is comparing their ERA to their FIP. What FIP is fielding independent pitching. So that's telling us kind of the deserved ERA that a pitcher has, right? And normally they'll be within, I don't know, a third of a run of each other. This is 1.56, 1.97. So a lot of these are pretty similar, a 4 and a 3.96, a 4 and a 4.02. Here's a 4.11 ERA and a 3.46 FIP. So he's been a bit unlucky. Says his ERA should have been more around the mid threes. Mitchell Stone here, 5. Well, actually, let me go back to Taylor Rogers. So why is that? Well, some of it's that his BABIP is 347. And again, remember my team was like, 311 or something, and that was one of the worst in the AL. So he's been probably one of the unluckier pitchers in the league with his BABIP. Let's see, but maybe he's just a guy who the kind of contact that he gets, he runs a high BABIP. What's his career? Only 313, right? And 347 this year. So he's been much unluckier on balls in play. The difference between a 313 and a 347 batting average is pretty large and is going to affect a pitcher's results in a big way. So he's been unlucky on balls in play this year, and that's one reason why his ERA is so much higher than his FIP. And again, I think I said this, but FIP stands for fielding independent pitching. Comparing ERA to FIP, again, it's just a good way to see how unlucky your pitcher's been. And it's and it's why strikeout pitchers are good, right? Because balls aren't in play and they aren't as much, and so therefore they're not as susceptible to bad luck. So anyways, and if you want to get guys who induce weaker contact and keep the ball in the yard, look for movement pitchers. Good movement is good to keep the ball in the ballpark. And then on the hitter side of things here, there are a few things you can look at, right? I think if we're just talking about luck and maybe, why does my team suck when I think they should be good, the first thing you're going to want to look at for your hitters is BABIP, right? So let's just go ahead. So one of the lowest on my team here is Nick Matan, who's my everyday third baseman, 283 BABIP this season. Is he unlucky, or is this just kind of how his BABIP runs? You want to compare it to his average, because while most guys will fall around 300, not everybody does. So career BABIP, almost 3,000 plate appearances, is 319, and this year it's 283. So he's been pretty unlucky on balls in play. As you can see, there's some variance here between different years. And let's go to the other end of the spectrum. On a high BABIP, we've got Jason Rosario, my everyday center fielder, with a 351 BABIP. Is he always that lucky, or can he run that high? No, he's more of a 330 guy. So he's a bit luckier on balls in play this year. So he's running a little hot, right? And you maybe shouldn't necessarily expect that level of production from him moving forward because he's been pretty lucky. So with individual players, just kind of compare their career long BABIP to their current year one. It can also be a way, here, I'll show you one guy that I got rid of because I was like, I think he's had a career year, and that's Austin Hayes. So BABIP-wise, now he's continued it. That's the weird thing, right? So, you can see he was 273, 295, 278, 278, and then, boom, he exploded with a 357, and then a 351. So he did it 2 years in a row, and it's like, all right, is this for real? And now he's done it again with a 349. So I don't know what's changed here, but he's been really fortunate the last 3 years to where it's like, now maybe he is this dude. Maybe something changed in his approach, and he's now, has, better luck, or I guess it's not luck at this point because it's 3 seasons on balls in play. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. If you have a guy that randomly has an excellent year out of nowhere, or, achieved way above what you expected or what he has achieved previously, check out his BABIP. It might just be a mirage, although Hayes is kind of proving like he's sustaining this 350-ish BABIP. So anyways, that's some tips for looking at why your team might suck when they shouldn't, or why players are lucky or unlucky, and kind of ways you can dig into that. That's the end of this one. I know I kind of covered a bunch of topics kind of surface level, so any questions, just let me know.